Wuthering Heights is a dramatic, colorful, and heavy film. It has many allegories or metaphors and artistic techniques that create a special aesthetic and a special atmosphere, more like a performance. Despite the fact that this film is an adaptation of the historical situation of historical book, its interpretation is more fairy tale, and many details and moments don't correspond to original version. It's a kind of stormy heights, wuthering heights that was originally. Nevertheless, this picture is very interesting and ambitious. We can find this symbolism and archetypes. The aesthetic of this film are permeated with Gothic romanticism and a dark atmosphere, majestic forces of nature, demonic principles in the characters, hidden invisible evil and sacrifice. The aesthetics and imagery of this picture send us to various fairy tale plots and associations, and we find many comparisons with some famous fairy tales and stories that we already know. These are prototypes of Little Red Riding Hood, the Dark Gothic Dracula, references to the Middle Ages, Rapunzel, Snow White's, fairy tale Beauty and the Beast. Indeed, we find a lot of similarities in this film and Disney stories, and this is achieved with the help of a special colorfulness of a special fairy tale atmosphere, as if it were impossible in reality. But in the same time, we are told about very real events, but this fairy tale will not have a happy end. Why is Wuthering Heights one of the most dramatic plots and the story of the strongest embroidered tragic love? Was a happy ending possible for this story? Why did sacrifice lead to tragedy? And who is to blame for this? There are a lot of different psychological issues in this film, such as cruelty, envy, betrayal, childhood trauma. The main characters are Heathcliff and Kathy. They met each other as children, and perhaps this shared their relationship. We can immediately note the very capricious and very strange character of Catherine, how she was a very vulnerable but at the same time extremely obsessed girl. Two opposite principles had already arisen in her since childhood, and they were connected with the family by a cruel father and with all external events that happened to her. We also see a boy who is very closed in himself and who is very depressed. And these two children were not just friends, they were not just raised together, they became something more for each other. They became one soul and knew each other better than anyone. But despite this supportive connection, they very much hid their true feelings and tried in every possible way to show their disdain. It's a gap in what they actually feel and what they show that gave rise to a certain paradigm and relationship that they communicated with each other, needing each other, but it was as if they could never admit their feelings to each other and openly show them. Kathy also very often claimed that Heathcliff was her pet and constantly belittled him. Despite the fact that they grew up, they remained these children for each other. They were exactly the same as in childhood. Their story is really very complicated because, on the hand, they were raised together as brother and sister, but were constantly different because of their status, origin, and this dissonance that arose in their relationship disgusted them from themselves and from each other. But in some special crisis situations, they were always together and always supported each other. It was such especially sincere moments that made them closer to each other and allowed them to open their feelings. Lonely, frightening Kathy. She wants approval, supporting, understanding, and sympathy from other people and from their companion Nellie. Nellie's figure is very important in this picture, despite the fact that in the original story Nellie is the keeper, not the companion, and the same little girl who lived together with Catherine, then became her best friend and her enemy. Heathcliff grew by a strong and fearless young man, and unlike Kathy, he never showed his neglect, but he felt very much and was offended by Catherine's tricks, but he always forgave her and supported it despite her behavior. We can see not only very strong feeling between Kathy and Heathcliff, we also see and watch their growing attraction to each other as they become bodily closer and closer. This is a physical factor of erotism and tension. They really wanted each other very much, but something prevented them to get closely, and this could be something like internal contradiction is the installation that they are like brother and sister, although they were not. The problem of their various origin and status, the problem of condemnation by others. For Kathy, Heathcliff was very significant, and she always called for him when it was hard to her. But she always watched him and tracked his condition, and a period when he was also hard. For each other they become a certain refuge house, shelter, home. But they could only do this with each other without showing their true feelings for the show. Wealth and money were really important for Kathy, but Heathcliff had no status, no money, just love, just devotion. She constantly said that all her behavior and decisions were only just for saving the estate and helping Heathcliff. She was acting like a victim. She felt a contradiction that she was doing and what she really wants, but she was more and more immersed in this fear and despair. Is she to blame what happened to her and what would happen to them in the future? Or are these external events or situations that made it take an incorrect decision? In the Gothic novel, there is always some sacrifice. Here we can find demonic manifestations in every character and the whole atmosphere. The aesthetics of the film shows the emerging storms that are nascent in bad weather that will definitely collapse and destroy everything. Very often in the Gothic romance also present the theme of vampirism, and this is not necessarily the hero of the vampire. It can be some kind of energy theme of vampirism. And here we can track down as some heroes feed on the feelings of others, trying to make them suffer. The errors become involuntary or voluntary victims. This is usually love when the girl falls in love with a very beautiful but very gloomy man, and his a certain demonic vampire essence. Can we find such features at Heathcliff? Can we say that he is a gloomy, dangerous villain, or his love is beautiful and pure? We really find that Heathcliff is very beautiful, very strong, and his appearance is very much connected with his character, that he is very dark clothes. We also see that he pursues his own selfish goals. After returning to the Wuthering Heights, more and more ability in some kind of inner dark began to appear in him. He becomes an insidious and dangerous man, dangerous primarily for Katie. By that time, Katie becomes a completely different woman. Here we need to talk more about her development, her changing in her style. From the time she was living in Wuthering Heights and what she became when she got married. If at the beginning of the film, in her youth, we see how she was very free in her manifestations, dresses, appearance. It was the reflection in her clothes, flowing long hair. Here we see an analogy with Rapunzel, who is languishing in her castle, waiting for some prince or some miracle who will save her and who will pull her out of her ordinary life. We almost all the time see burgundy or red essence and tones in Catherine's clothes or makeup. It's one of the hands of reference to Gothism. One of the hands, it's a reference to a certain liveliness, to a certain passion of symbolism of love and passionate heart. But the more Katie moves away from Wuthering Heights, she becomes some other version of herself that is far from anything real. And we see changes in her image, in her style, how she becomes a woman who increasingly closes herself off and hides her true essence in expensive jewelry, multi-layered clothes, and very unusual hairstyles. And we observe how Katie's styles become more and more bright, shocking, contradictory, strange, as contradictory as her inner essence. We see how she changes clothes, changes her style, and cannot find herself, that she is hiding behind these beautiful decorations. We begin to understand that she is becoming hypocritical within herself for herself. More and more elements with ambiguous essence appear in her hairstyle. It could be hair collected like horns, like some pair symbols. There are intricately braided braids that indicate her increasing confusion, as if she were in a cage locked up. At some point, we can track how her outfits become darker and darker. From young girl who can dream, she turns into unhappy, reclusive woman who is desperate and has lost herself, despite the fact that she is very beautiful and rich. But who became the villain for Catherine? Who destroyed her life? Is it her rich husband or her companion Nellie? Why did Katie constantly rush about what she was doing and secretly meet with Heathcliff? She either let him in or moved away from him, but at the same time she couldn't live without him. Why didn't they run away from everyone to the ends of the world, but continued to play this game that they invented themselves? It's at this moment that we can trace the growing demonicity of Heathcliff, that his jealousy and selfishness began to give rise to the darkest principles in his character. He was not capable of forgetting Kathy, he was not capable of stopping loving her, but his love took on a very dark side, a shade of suffering that he wanted to cause. Bear all their feelings to each other and become real, become sincere. They confessed their love to each other more than once, but it seemed not the right moment, when it was already difficult to go against what had happened. Who started this game, or was this game caused by their unconscious behavior, the behavior that they had left for each other since childhood? But besides the fact that they themselves could not admit their feelings to themselves, they could not be sincere and could not realize that the most important things to them were also external events and situations, people who interfered with their love. Wuthering Heights is a gloomy castle on the edge of a cliff among heather fields. This is the strongest feeling of experiencing love between two doubting hearts. Wuthering Heights is a tragic story about sacrificial love in a situation where understatement and insincerity can lead to a fatal end. It's very difficult to express in words what this film gives, what it shows us. It conveys the strongest feelings of hopelessness, but at the same time a very strong passion between Heathcliff and Catherine. Probably they both didn't have the courage to love each other. They didn't have enough openness. Their hearts were in turmoil and constant doubts about what was right and what was wrong prevented them from approaching each other at the right moment. There were a lot of emotions between them, a lot of feelings that they could not cope with because the constant duality, ambivalence. Despite the fact that being together they harmonized each other, the ambivalence of their feelings in love was so strong that it killed one of them. By the end of the story, Kathy's robes and dresses are becoming more and more snow white, more and more restrained and modest. She seemed to be dressed in a white funeral shroud. She fell ill and then died. And if Heathcliff had returned a little early, if he could have saved her a little early, the story would not have been so dramatic. Wuthering Heights teaches us that we need to love here and right now. Right here, right now, no matter what, forgetting about our selfishness, about our own benefit, about what others will say and think. Wuthering Heights shows us that love can be very strong, crazy, but the most important thing is to have time to save such love.